He was named a top 100 leader of North America by John Maxwell. Blueprint listeners, welcome back for another episode with your host. I'm Zach Heyer.
And I'm Spencer Maxwell. And Zachary, who we got?
Today, we got a treat for you. We have a retired Marine turned leadership instructor, but here's the caveat, not just any leadership instructor. He was named a top 100 leader of North America by John Maxwell. Brock, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast today.
Hey, life is good. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
John Maxwell knows his stuff, man. So that's saying something about you.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool.
That's a big deal.
It was pretty amazing thing. So it was a whole process, and we probably don't have time to get into all it was a nomination process and the whole thing. And then I went through multiple interviews, and it was like a 6-month thing.
Was it really?
Yeah. And so at the end of where kind of I made it through, and they kept going too. Like they were top, 50 and then top whatever. And so there's bigger deals out there than me for sure. But to make it up to the top 100, because it started off in like a pool of thousands, right? And
That's
so
amazing.
so it was pretty cool to get up to the top 100, and that qualified me for a couple different things. But one of the coolest things was like I got a personal phone call from Dr. Maxwell, right?
That's actually crazy.
It was pretty crazy. I was fanboying it for sure. I recorded my phone with another phone, and he's calling, and the number popped up, and I answered, and I was like, "Hi, this is Brock," and he's like, "Well, hello, Brock." He knows.
His velvet voice.
Yeah. Yes.
I was like, "Hi, how are you, Dr. Maxwell?"
Right.
So that was cool to go through that and to be named that, and then just get to talk with them and hang with them a little bit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is something special. So obviously that's where we're at now. Top 100 leaders, named by John Maxwell. But I guess tell us from the start. Tell us your story on why you got into what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So after high school, or during high school, I guess I knew I wanted to go and serve. I wanted to do something. My kind of personality, especially kind of getting into that next level and kind of becoming an adult, in my perspective, was I want to do the hardest thing possible. Right. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, so I'm going to go military. I want to definitely serve the country in that way. And as I'm looking over things and researching, I was like, okay, Marines, they're the most, the toughest, right? They're kind of the elite. And then when I went and talked to recruiters and different things, and I scored well on all the testing and all that, and I could kind of do any job that I wanted to. And so there are a lot of different admin jobs and different things out there and whatever. But I was like, no way, I'm not going to join the Marines and sit behind a desk, right?
I want to be in the mud.
Yeah. So joined the infantry, became an 0311, which is a rifleman. And so did the door kicking, did the whole thing there, which is really cool. So
very cool.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, of course there were good times and bad. Usually they don't send the Marines to like nice places in the world.
You're not going to Bora Bora.
So like, hey, let's send Marine infantry to Tahiti. So, but I think I got to go to 13 different countries. So I got to see the world, and in a lot of places that were just not great. One of the, we went down to South America and did some things down there, helped, we had the Colombian military, we were helping train them and do some different things there. And then into Peru and Chile. And then we went around to Argentina and Brazil and all that, Ecuador. So there were it's just really eye opening, especially when you're 18, 19, 20. And you're a 19-year-old and they give you military grade weapons and go point in that direction and go do what you need to do. But it really was, like I said, eye opening to come from America to out to some of these places and just, open door environments where you're sitting in a place and like a pig runs through and
that's wild.
And, just some really, just places that are very different in the world. The Ecuadorian military was so poor that they were feeding us food, and we kept getting like these hairs, like these black hairs. Like, what are we eating here? One of my buddies found a nipple like in his food.
No way.
Like, okay, what is this?
Wow.
And it was dog. They were chopping up dogs and feeding it to us because that's all they had. And so a whole different world environment out there,
Wow.
And then we went over to the Pacific and did Okinawa and different things. And so it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It definitely matured you up, got you ready to go out and do what you need to do. The brotherhood that you create within that is forever. I mean, we've got a group text that, we're still like 20 years out or whatever. And still we talk every single day. We do reunions. I know a lot of the guys are getting together next week for some things. So
that's really cool.
Really cool. Definitely recommend it to anybody to go out there and serve your country and do those things.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. I appreciate not only everybody that did that, but in any branch. I mean, of course we rib each other, but I went in the Marines. My sister went Army after that. She did a couple tours in Iraq. And then my younger brother went Marine as well. And then our youngest brother went Marine too. So we just all kind of,
everybody looks up to older brother, huh?
did it. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's funny because
You've always been a leader, huh?
Yeah, that's it's bred into you. I think, I don't know if it's like firstborn or what different theories that go into that, but so I went infantry. Then my middle brother went like the drum and bugle corps band type music stuff. He's over there in the red jackets, doing the thing. And then our youngest brother went infantry too. And so we were like, hey Scott, the real Marines are out in the mud. And he's like, no, the dumb Marines are out in the mud. The real ones are in the hotel. Eating the good food. We're like, you can't really argue with that.
So let me ask you this. You said 13 countries. Obviously, you weren't going on vacation on these things. Yeah. But what was your favorite place to visit? Or just from a perspective of like beautiful scenery, or like what was your favorite place to go? And maybe favorite place to go isn't the best term to describe that. But if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So there was some, obviously some bad stuff and all those different things. We had a job to do in some of the countries. But then once we got to down to Chile, so we were in Peru. They had a ship, the Navy, and I love the Navy, but they have screwed up big time on this one. But they actually ran our ship aground and like ripped the bottom of it open. The whole thing, water's coming in, like a full naval like ship, like a big LST, which is a landing craft. That's a big thing. And so when that happened, then, our platoon had shot down to Chile to do forward party down there. And so when they were waiting on that entire process to happen, like we were just kind of pulled away from our unit, us just, there's like 30 of us or whatever down there. And so we got like, they ran out of training for us to do. And so we just kind of had a lot of free time down there while we were waiting on another ship to come down from Virginia. And so we were sitting there and they were kind of trying to come up with different stuff for us to do. But then eventually they were like, we don't really have much for you to do. Go out in town and, explore and see some sights. So, so that was beautiful. It was Viña del Mar, Valparaiso, which is like this crescent shaped bay right there in Chile, right on the water. And it's, beautiful and great food and great people. And it was a cool place to like be stuck at, I guess, for a little while. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. That place was cool.
So, transitioning from the Marines, what happened after all that, Yeah,
it was kind of crazy because, we're a bunch of infantry guys and we're walking around, just machine guns in our sleeping bags and, it's whatever else. And, and they do a great job at preparing you to go do those things, right? Like it's not a normal job to go out there and do that. I mean, infantry really, we don't, our job description, everybody has a mission statement, a job description of companies and all that. Well, the mission statement of the Marine Infantry Rifle Squad is the quick version is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy through close combat and firepower. That's kind of all we do. We don't, we don't exist to, fix ships or all those other different things that are out there. And so to get you ready to specifically do that, they're the best in the world. I mean, you send a platoon full of Marines out somewhere, we're going to get it done. And it's not a normal thing to like be shot at, right?
Yeah.
You have to prepare you, just put this shell and this identity around you to do that. Not a normal thing to shoot at people.
Yeah.
Right? And so they do a great job at getting you ready to go do those things. And then when you come back, when you're ready to get out,
it doesn't translate.
It
doesn't translate.
Right. And they give you, especially when I was in, I think there's a bigger focus now, but when I was in, it was like a 3-day course, separations course. Here's how to build a resume. And you're sitting in the back and you're like, I was a sergeant by this time. I was a squad leader. I was led combat Marines. Like, I know how to do the civilian world. And so you're not listening anyway. And so when you get out, you're like, oh, never mind. I don't know how to do the civilian world at all. So it's like being dropped in a lake with there were no orders coming from above. There's nobody to kind of command from below. And so it's like, you're just kind of out there, and it affects guys for sure, and ladies too. But that's why, post 9/11 veterans, you guys probably have heard the stats, and it's 22 a day, right? 22 veterans a day post 9/11 are committing suicide. It's probably more than that, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. So,
well, you wrote a book, to kind of talk about this thing, right?
Yeah. So I noticed when we were getting together for platoon reunions and just different vets that I ran into out in the world, it was like, okay, some people are moving forward and doing great things in life and using everything that we learned and applying it out there, and then some are just kind of stuck and waiting for that next order to come. And so I wanted to see what the difference was there and see if we can help the ones that were stuck kind of become unstuck. So interviewed a bunch of veterans, did the whole thing, did the research, put in what I had kind of learned and what was working for me, and just mindset wise and getting out of that funk and going out there being successful. And I put together the book on really it's a pretty simple book, action items on what to do to work on your mindset to be successful out here.
Mm-hmm.
And that really allowed me to apply it to different things in life and start my business eventually and all of that. But it was kind of funny because we were about to get out. We had a couple months left, whatever it was. And one of my buddies in my platoon, he went down to the base library and got a book on careers. Because we're like, we should probably know what we're doing when we get out of here. Most guys go like police officer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't really want to do that. We kind of already done that, that energy. And so he came back and he's like, guys, I know what we're going to do. I got a book here. We're going to be optometrists. Like, he's like, it's great. He's like, all you have to do is say, is it better here or here? And like, you get paid a lot of money. We're like, sweet, let's do it.
Optometrist.
And so I actually have a pre-optometry degree. Like my
way.
associates is like in pre-optometry, associate aside, the whole thing. I was going to go over to Ohio State. I'd already done visits, the whole thing. And I kind of got into, like, when I was going to college here, I got into banking accidentally. Like I was a bartender waiter on the side. And then I got into like part-time teller banking, whatever. And they just kept promoting me because I kept doing what I did in the Marines, where it was just like, if they need a body, you volunteer. Like, you put yourself out there and be as active,
follow orders, execute,
and be active as much as you can, like accomplish anything you can in any way to help anybody. And that just got me promoted a lot. And I found myself like 24 months into banking, like going from a part-time teller to like a retail branch manager and all this. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Okay, I guess this is what I'll do instead of uprooting life and going over to Columbus. I'm going to do this. But
to be an optometrist.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of us that got like pre-optometry degrees, but nobody is an optometrist.
That's funny.
It was not the right reason behind it. But I do give credit to the bank that I was at, because they did a good job of sending their officers out to different leadership events and retreats and trainings, right? And I didn't really know that was an industry out there. But I went to a retreat, it was like 2.5 or 3 day event with a guy named Brandon Johnson, and in the area, I think he's from like Minnesota and that kind of area up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I went up to him after and I was like, man, I love what you're doing. I didn't know this was a thing. Can you take me under your wing a little bit and help me learn so I can make my own thing? And he did a little bit there, kind of train and give me some ideas and things. And after that, I kind of made my own thing. So I took pieces of what he taught me, pieces of what I learned in corporate America, and then a lot of military too, and kind of made my own thing, and kind of did that on the side for a couple of years. And then it got to the point where it was creating more income for me than what I was doing at the bank. So I could, then let that go.
Yeah.
And once you free up 40, 50 hours a week, like, then it really goes from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
now that we kind of got the whole backstory, I guess now tell us about what all your business entails and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. It's been awesome. So, like I said, I went full-time doing that. So I started off with kind of corporate retreats. So my most popular on the corporate side is a 1-day event. You guys have mentioned Blue Vase Hunters. There's, of course, a story behind that. It was after a book called The Go-Getter, written in 1921, and there's a whole story there for the name. But that's where companies started bringing me in to train their employees on personal development, team cohesion, leadership, those types of things. And it really worked well. It was successful, and kind of just grew over the years. And then over the years, you always get those emails and different people coming up after and saying, wow, thanks for that. That was awesome. Really changed our company. It changed our culture. And so that's kind of been where the funds and income has come from my business, as far as that side of things. And then that led into keynote speaking and those types of things, which has actually taken over a good portion of it as well. But over the years, men especially started coming up after and said, man, that was awesome. Like, what's the next step? Do you have anything a little grittier, kind of thing? Like, yeah. I was Marine infantry. We can come up with gritty.
Yeah. I am grit.
We could do that for sure. So actually in 2021, so 2021, started my business in 2013. So hit 10-year anniversary last year.
Nice.
11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I didn't realize that you've been doing it for that long.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so 11 years in April was that. So that was a cool milestone to get to.
Yeah.
You guys have heard Tony Robbins and lots of people talk about, and owning a business is just gladiator combat out there, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just tough to do. And if you make it to that 5-year mark, then that's huge.
Well, 90% of businesses fail prior to 5 years, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the statistic.
Yep, it's right in there, like high 80s or low 90s. And then for the next 10 years, so what's left out of that 90%, that like 10% that's left, it's like another 60% die in the next 5 years.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So to make
so
it to
you're
10
11
years,
you can breathe.
11 years now.
But not satisfied.
It's just fun because portions of the business kind of roll now, which is cool because I can take my foot off the gas pedal there and apply it to other things, which allowed the creation of the Lion Chasers in 2021, because things were kind of rolling and doing different things, even out of COVID. Like COVID shut everything down. Nobody could, getting together, positive energy leadership retreats didn't happen because you couldn't even be in the same room.
Right.
So I went to a lot of one-on-one coaching, Zoom stuff, and it just wasn't. You just kind of limped through that first year, which every business did. But then after that, that grittiness, the desire, especially for men to kind of get together and reconnect, it really came to a head there. And I was like, man, let's do this for sure. So took some experiences that I did. I was partnered up with a retreat down in Texas for a little while, and good people down there, but I just kind of had a different vision. And so created my own thing in 2021 called Lion Chasers, like the animal Lion Chasers. There's some biblical aspect to that for sure. I've got 2 different versions of that because some businesses, if you go into like Clopay and these big companies that have sent their leadership through, one of the first questions they ask you in HR is, hey, is this faith affiliated? Is this a religious organization? And if you say yes, then they literally can't send their stuff through.
Really?
So
that's one of the first questions that they ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Interesting.
And so I've had to create kind of 2 versions of that where, of course, I'm a Christian. Like everything I do permeates, kind of permeates out of me from that, man. Jesus is my man, for sure. He's the only reason why I'm here, especially through some of the crazy stuff. But also it's if we just came out, so we've got kind of a faith side of things, and then also a secular version. And so it depends on who's coming, who's sending their people through based on which one they get plugged into.
Interesting.
But a secret that's not really a secret, they still get some Jesus in there, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just kind of comes out of us. And, and we do an optional worship service on Sunday morning and different things, but it's cool because we're able to reach guys that maybe aren't ready for that, or have had a bad experience, or have a lot of doubts, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They come in and they're like, man, I thought to follow Jesus, you had to be like kind of a weenie, turn the other cheek. And that's
I was going to say, you kind of make it relatable.
Yeah. So we're able to go in there. We crawl through the mud together. We throw spears together. We do that. And then we talk about, then they're like, man, what, you've just got something different about you. Like, what is it? And then we can kind of talk on the side.
It just opens the door.
That's all it's about. It's like, hey, this guy's different. Why is that? Yeah. And that's our job as Christians, is to act differently.
And I tell you what,
people ask.
I love that approach
Yep.
because I feel like when it's just, and I think that there's a time and place for everything,
Yep.
right? But I think that when you are shoving it down people's throats,
Yep.
they can throw up a guard. And when you're able to just connect and relate with them and, you know, just do like in your situation, just do guy stuff.
Yep.
And then they can see that difference and they ask you the question.
Yep.
I feel like it just opens the door a lot more because the guards dropped and you can really, they're willing to listen,
Yep.
you know? So I love that approach.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
It's been cool. So it's like turned into, or it started off, but more of the secular side, just from a business aspect and approach. But you know, it's now turned into that ministry where we've really been able to connect with guys like you were saying, and ladies and everything else, because it's cool because the Lion Chasers has really become my focus on my entire business. So I still do the blue base stuff. I still do keynote things. That's still alive and well and doing its thing. But because that is now rolling and kind of almost like its own
self-sustaining
identity and all of that. Yeah, for sure. That has allowed me to put a lot of energy into this, and it has absolutely blown up like that. And I know God's blessing it for sure, because it's like, this is crazy. Like, I only wanted to do one retreat, or planned to do one Lion Chaser retreat per year, because it's 2.5 days. We're inside, we're outdoors. We're usually off site location. Like, we have a location here in Ohio. We started a location down in Kentucky, down by Lake Laurel. So down by Tennessee border a couple of years ago. And then this past year, this year earlier, we started our first one in Fort Myers, Florida, which has been awesome. So it was really cool just to get in the swamps down there. You know, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But so it's really taken off. And so I was only going to do one retreat because it's super intense to put on. You know, we've got support element that come in, like existing guys that have been through the program that will legit like volunteer their time and weekend to come and serve the bigger team, which is amazing. The tribe is awesome. I don't have time to like focus on or brag on these guys enough. Like the tribe, these guys are amazing.
Business owners, do you know the value of creating a strong brand and realize social media is one of the best ways to do it, but don't have the time to stay consistent or know where to start? Do you need a modern website or an eye-catching logo? You only get one first impression and you've got to make it count. No matter if you're looking for a website, a logo package, or if you need a professional to craft and implement a custom social media strategy to create a recognizable brand and drive sales, the Z&T agency has got you covered. Odds are you've probably been thinking about these things to some degree, but didn't know a solution. Or maybe this is all new to you and you're interested in hearing more. Either way, we'd love to talk to you. Reach out to zach.hire@theztagency.com to book your consultation call today.
But that has allowed, but now like it has grown into, just from 2021, we're in, you know, year 3 or whatever it is. And now we had like 6 retreats, and we did a couples retreat this past year.
Wow.
Oh,
We
that's
did
cool.
An advanced retreat, a cold weather retreat up in Michigan. So it was like, and
So it's hitting a lot harder than.
yeah. And now we're looking at this new executive leader CEO version coming up in November, which I'm pretty excited about. And so lots of different things are coming out of that. We do a Gains and Grub where my wife and I, we just open up our cul-de-sac and we, you know, work out, we bust our butts and sweat together. Families are there, wives are there, whatever, guests are there.
Gains and Grub. I like
and then
it.
I go and start to grill, man. And we eat, and, you know,
Dude,
we
that's
jumpy houses and stuff for the kids. And
that's awesome.
yeah, it's been cool. So,
Wow.
So now it's like got this whole thing. And now the next step, I'm already training new instructors to be Lion Chaser instructors that are coming out of the existing tribe that have shown capability, but also desire to be an instructor. And so now we're going through the process on getting that next level coming so that we can have multiple retreats going on the same weekend in different locations.
Wow.
It's been awesome.
So let me ask you this. Between either Blue Vase or Lion Chasers, do you have like any employees on payroll?
Yeah, no. So it's all been just me. I have brought on a couple like just part-time sales type people, and just to continue to help hit Blue Vase, because since I don't have time to really focus on that, then then I've brought those people on just to kind of do that. But it's pure like 1099 type
Okay.
stuff where they
Yep.
go out and do that.
Gotcha.
So that'll eventually get there because it's getting so much admin wise that I'm not able to do that.
Yeah.
And put all the efforts into different things. Of course, my wife helps, and I totally have recruited my kids to like help fold shirts and, you know, or organize inventory. And all
Well, you
that.
know, there's tax advantages to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You could pay your children salaries and then like write it off or something.
Yeah. I mean, they're 12 at the time, you know. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely have help. But honestly, the way that it's all of the people that come in and support and all this. I mean, I got to brag on Shannon McCarty. He's one of the first guys to ever sign up, like Alpha One back in the day, the first team to go through, because every team that goes through has its own designation, its own name, its own identity. So within the tribe, you know, we're all lion chasers, but then each team that goes through is named Alpha One, Bravo One, Charlie One, whatever it's going to be. And I limit it to 10 men. And so it's small unit cohesion. These guys bond together. They do reunions. They hang out. Like, it's so cool to see what they do even after their retreat. But then, you know, on the bigger tribe, like Shannon has volunteered always. He's been at every single event that has ever existed at Lion Chasers. And
Wow.
so we call him the great grandfather of Lion Chasers now. And, you know, he catches flack for that for sure. But his warrior name was Bad Santa because when he showed up, he had like a beard and the whole thing. And so he'll show up to we do an end of the year banquet every year. We call it the Gathering of the Spears. And so men come from all of the states, from all over the place to hang out. They bring their wives and they dress up a little bit. We do competitions there. We name Lion Chaser of the Year, which is a big deal. I've got this like 6-foot slab of wood, raw wood with bark still hanging off of it, with chains hanging off of it. And they get their name engraved into like this wooden plaque, and they get to go hang it on the chains. And I, you know, we give them, you know, different things like funds toward the next training and those types of things. So it's a big deal within our tribe to be able to earn that and get that spot. And so they're always going to be hanging on the wall like forever. So it's really cool and Shannon was the first like Lion Chaser of the Year, 2021. So he's been really cool, but so many men have stepped up and been just instrumental within that. So it's cool to see the tribe come back kind of behind me and do that. And then the ladies that have come to the couples retreat, like, they're the most fired up people in the tribe.
Yeah.
You know, the ladies are out there. They went out there, they kicked butt, they did the things. They got in the water and everything that we do. And so we got some warriors.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's fun to do it with your wife.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, like, how do you get people via word of mouth? Do you do marketing? Like, how do you get all these people to sign up for these events?
Yeah. So that's been part of the testament too. In the testimony, it's like, I haven't had to do much marketing at all. Like, I hired a third-party company to do some social media stuff, which, you know, Zach, I know that you and your wife do that. And so I saw a little bit maybe about it from it, but not a whole lot because I wasn't focusing probably on using it correctly. Your guys' industry absolutely gets it done out there, but I just wasn't utilizing the tool, I think.
Yeah.
But I haven't really, I guess I haven't seen that. I haven't required that yet.
Yeah. Which is amazing that
right.
you're just doing everything off of word of mouth.
Really good,
yeah. And it's from the guys, really. Like, they go out, and the ladies and couples, they've recruited so many people. Like, they're like, you guys have to do this. So people are sending their buddies, sending people now with the CEO, executive leaders, they're passing it up where they work. And we're getting some, you know, executive leadership from some pretty cool places are going to be coming in. So, so it's been all word of mouth. I haven't really done anything as far as anything significant.
That's the best kind of advertising. Word of mouth.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
So I have a question. What would you say, who would you say gets more out of these retreats, you or the people?
Yeah. Oh man. So I give everything I can. Like, I don't do much in my life like halfway. So I know my wife would give testament to that for sure. Like, once I focus in, man, that's my mission. And I believe in accomplishing the mission. And so when I put on a retreat, I give everything I can to make it the most amazing experience, to allow these guys to move forward in their life and be the best person of themselves and be the best husbands and sons and fathers, and be the best for their community and be the best for themselves. Right. And so I like to say that I give everything I can to them. And so I know that it's a good experience for them. But man, I can't say that I don't gain so much out of what I do every single time, because
I'm sure,
man, to watch the men like make those decisions and the journeys that they go through, and sitting around that fire after we go out there and get muddy, and there's a whole process, and I can't get into too much, but we do a down pilot rescue, right? And so there's we split the men into 2 teams or 3 teams, even depending on the size, and they get their mission parameters, they get the enemy threat level in the area, they go out and they have to go locate this down pilot and bring him back and accomplish different missions along the way.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool.
Dude, it's awesome. It's
pretty cool.
I got goosebumps right now. It's one of the favorite things we do there. And and it's not only that, but this is not Soviet Russia. Like, we like competition, right? So so we put them not only like against so it's a timed event. So they're going up against all the other lion chasers that have gone in lion chaser history to see who gets that quickest time.
Yeah.
But also they're going head to head against each other, like on the course. And so it's pretty cool to watch some of the things that come out of that, some of the ways that they figure out how to adapt and overcome is pretty awesome. But but after that we go and can't get into too much, because I don't like to give people too much heads up on what's going on, because it's supposed to, what it does is it strengthens you and gets you ready for life, because life doesn't let you know when it's going to hit.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So these things are coming, and you have to bond, you have to stand shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and go out there and chase the lions down. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to see that has reflected in other people's lives and those things. And, we talk about leaning into life and getting ready, go on the offense. Like, I'm not a real defensive kind of guy. Marines, man, they send us on the offense. Right.
Right.
And so, when you lean into life, in many times we find ourselves on our heels in life in different areas. Right. And man, if I'm standing on my heels, my little 10-year-old boy, he can come over and push me over.
Right.
Right. If I'm back here like this.
Yeah.
And so if life pushes you and punches at you and you're on your heels, that's not going to go in the right direction or the direction you want it to. But if I lean down, man, if I'm in that athletic stance and I'm pushing forward and I got my quads ready and everything's just pushing forward and leaning into it, I feel like I can take some pretty good hits, right? And still continue to move forward. And so, and all of us go through different chapters of different parts of life where we are on our heels in maybe one area, not in the other. But this is about strengthening and preparing for all that stuff to come at us and still be able to move forward effectively, because we still have to accomplish the mission. Like it says, we can't not.
So what? I have a tough question for you, and I don't know if you've thought about it or not. I'm sure you have. What's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's a deep question.
I feel like a couple come to mind right away. Like, of course, obvious, like your family and your wife and the kiddos. Like, we've got our kiddos have gone through a lot, and so I want to be the best example I can be for them, and for them to look up, because I know they're watching. And our daughters, we've got 2 daughters. They're 13 and 14. So we're doing some junior high girl teen girl action.
Everybody, prayer request for Brock. He's going through it.
I'll take energy drinks, ammo, whatever you got. Yeah, boys are starting to come, but so our daughters, we know that they look at their dad as an example on who they should choose as the man that they choose for their husband one day.
100%.
And so I want to be the best example for that. And then, man, my boy, he's looking to learn how to be a man and earn his spot in the warrior tribe of life out there. And so I have to show him how to be a gentleman and how to be a warrior at the same time. And so that's a big why for me. And my wife is amazing. She has shown me what a relationship is supposed to look like, what it's really looks like to be loved. And she's such an amazing woman and such a warrior outright in herself. She was a collegiate athlete, a cheerleader. She's done a lot of coaching stuff out there for cheer, for high level stuff. She got chosen to go over to Hawaii and represent in cheerleading back in high school. Went to the University of Toledo, cheered there, and now she's a nurse practitioner. So she helps with hospice, right, and different older, sicker people, right? So she deals with people and helps them through like the toughest part of their life, which is the end. So she's a warrior out there for sure. But man, if I had to really boil it down, like the way I run my life and the way I think we're supposed to is like Jesus first, then our spouse, then our kids, right? And so I think that we learn that everybody's been given gifts, like specific gifts by God. Like he's got a plan for us. He knows what we can handle, what we can't. Here are specific gifts and strengths for each of us to go out there. And I kind of use it. I see it as like my weapons, right? So when I was a rifleman, I didn't go run the mortars, right? Or the medium and heavy machine guns. I used them, and I would pop, we'd pop green star cluster up there or smoke to have them support in there. But I didn't like run up and fire a mortar because I don't know how, and it wouldn't be very effective, right? So everybody has their job and role within the team or within the force. And so I see us as, man, once you're a Christian, like you're on the team, you're
It's
part
the
of
same
that
thing for God's kingdom.
army. Yeah,
I heard that.
right.
Yeah.
And so we're all part of this army out here, and there's absolutely a battle. I mean, that's why we're fighting the fight. There's good versus evil. There's an enemy. There's a God, and so we're in this kind of battlefield. And so I've been given a specific set of skills and gifts and a specific weapon, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that if I don't do my job, then that's leaving a gap within the team that I don't want to happen on my watch. And so when I think that when I go out and do these things, and definitely doing it to make a difference out there and push back on the negative and push back on those lions that are out there, because too many people that I've talked to, including myself in different areas, especially back in the day, like you've got these lions that are just like, you hear it yapping and growling at you at 2 a.m. It's almost like you don't want to look over because it's there.
Yeah.
And if you look over, then it's scary. It causes fear and anxiety and all the different things that happen in men's lives and ladies too. And so I kind of got tired of that. And I was like, you know what? I'm not only going to face the lion, but I want to chase it down and show it who's boss. And so that's why lion chasers came as far as the name. Benaiah in the Bible, man, he's in a pit with a lion on a snowy day. He's out there chasing the lion down and spearing it. And so that was definitely motivation and inspiration for the name and for all of that. But it's been so cool to hear testimonies from guys coming out of this, the retreat going, you know what I guess the difference is when I look in the mirror, I don't see that lion like behind me anymore. And so it's been cool to see guys defeat the lions in their life and do those things. So that's a lot of my inspiration, where now the tribe has grown and now I've got like this family, I got like, I see the guys as my kiddos, and brothers for sure. And peers in battle, but also they're like my children, and I want to take care of them. Each of them has different things going on in life, from relationship stuff to physical fitness to mental and emotional things to self-confidence things. And so which we all have stuff in our life. And for them to trust those things with me, I feel like I would be letting them down if I didn't sharpen myself to be the best weapon I can be against those things. So, so I guess that's a long answer to.
No, that's really good.
No, that's awesome.
And something else kind of too, you just said what people, what you help a lot of people with. Do you ever feel pressure when you have people leaning on you for certain things at those retreats? And also, I'm sure you feel an immense amount of pressure because you're leading other leaders like the CEO and other executive retreats. Do you feel a lot of pressure with that?
I don't feel so yes, but I don't feel pressure in the way of like, oh, I'm not going to give a good enough product or perform well. Like I'm pretty confident in that. I know what I do has worked. I totally don't like self bragging or anything like that, but 100%. I busted my butt to be the best I can for this. And so 100%. And I continue to, because I know the journey's never ending and I can always be better. We constantly tweak different things that are happening in the retreats to make them the best they can. I rely on the guys that are there to tell me what's going on behind the scenes. Because when I'm up in front of the horseshoe and we're talking through different things and guys are pouring their challenges out to me and to different things, and I'm leading them through different processes and challenges, man, behind the scenes there's a whole process going on where guys are getting their butts kicked dragging 10 kayaks down the mountain, and all these different things. So so I know the product is the best it can be and continues to be better, and we continue to sharpen and focus on that. So maybe the pressure that I feel is I want to make sure that that I am helping them in the ways that they need it. And so
you just want them to get the most out of it as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And be what I can, or put together this product really to help to create an environment for them to draw those lines in the sand and do those things. So so the pressure isn't there from the product side. It's more about, I want them to, be able to move forward and be the best they can in their lives. So,
Mhm.
so you feel that kind of pressure as far as leading other leaders and those types of things. What I found in my life is that when we talked about it a little bit before, but I found myself not having a lot of mentors in my life where I could do that, because in every aspect of my life, I'm leading it. So
Yeah.
family and business and career and all the other things, like I haven't found, I was lacking, I guess, a leader for me where I
Yeah.
could just bounce ideas.
Yeah,
and
you weren't
which
being
we all
led.
need.
You're leading,
Yeah,
but not
for
led.
sure.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
took some actions here actually after that meeting. Pastor Stan Tharp is actually going to be my personal mentor. Coming
No
out of
way.
this. Yeah,
Awesome.
No,
He's top
he's
dude,
notch.
retiring out,
that's
which would be
awesome.
cool. I'm fired up about that. He's such an amazing inspiration to so many people. 30 plus years leading multiple thousands of people at a time in just faith and success and those things. So reached out to him. It was funny because I reached out to him and he emailed back and said, "You beat me to the punch. I was going to reach out to you."
That's awesome.
Wow.
So it'll be cool. I think he's looking to get into some different aspects of life, and after, now that he's retiring, and some of it's going to be kind of what I've been doing, and so I'm going to give him some insight and different things there. But can't wait to sit at his feet and kind of get that aspect too. So
And you're about to get so much wisdom and experience from him.
man,
Wow.
That
Can't
dude
wait.
is wise.
Yeah.
Extremely.
So super thankful.
Yeah.
Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? Be sure to use a Maxwell Group at NavX Realty, where your dream is our passion. The Maxwell Group takes pride in client relationships and experiences. We utilize our knowledge, our love for the industry, and our extensive network to handle your life's biggest investment. Call or text Spencer Maxwell at 937-572-5382.
We might have listeners that are listening to this and saying, "Brock, oh my gosh, man, this is fantastic. This is amazing."
Yeah.
What's the age demographics
Yeah.
of people that can come to this? Because obviously it's very physically intensive.
Yeah, and you know what? People ask me that because that's one of the biggest things I get is, man, can I do this? I had knee surgery last year. I'm really out of shape. I'm not where I want to be. And so the age demographic is really cool because we've had guys that are, I think the youngest to go through is 19.
Oh, wow.
And the oldest guy right now is 65 that went through,
Okay.
67, I think now. But we've got a guy that's already signed up for the retreat coming up in Kentucky in the fall. That he's 75. He's going to
Really?
Jeez, oh, Pete.
Oh,
he's going to get it done. So what's
Wow.
cool about that is, and we've had men. So it's really cool. So within even the team, like for an example, the 19-year-old, he was kind of not sure what he was doing in life. He had graduated high school, but next to him was a guy that was about to retire, Special Forces combat medic in the Air Force. He was in the Navy for a little while, but Air Force, he had done, like, I thought my 3 deployments were kind of cool. Like this guy had done 10 deployments.
Wow.
Everywhere: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Jordan, like all over the place. And so, and just retiring out with 30 years in the service. And so he is sitting right next to this 19-year-old, and they were able to bond and talk and help each other through those things in between processes. In the, after we finish for the night, there's great conversations that happen in the barracks and in the dorm rooms and things like that we use. And so the age demographic is very different. Right now you have to be 18 and up to be able to, just for insurance purposes, and
Of
all
course,
that stuff that has to happen.
Yeah.
We need them to be able to sign the waivers.
Right. Right.
Just in line changes, the coolest things happen when there's an extra waiver. Just get ready for that. Right? The insurance guys like that stuff. But as far as the physical fitness side, like some people are like, man, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I'm not ready. And we've had guys go through that already had their gastric bypass scheduled, and they went through because they were very obese. Just they were really out of shape. Multiple men have kind of gone through that. And so it's been amazing to see how they've come out of that and made ground against that after the retreat, like that specific, that's just like Health Lion was just
Mhm.
getting them, just tearing them up.
Yeah.
And so they were able to turn and start putting some pelts, let's say.
Yeah.
Lions have scalps, but they can put those pelts on the wall and make serious ground within that. It's amazing. It's very common for men to come out of there and lose 20 pounds, and kind of even in that first 6 months. So it's really cool to see. You don't have to be like some CrossFit instructor to go through, right?
Yeah.
Although we do have CrossFit instructors that have gone through. A couple of years ago, we had the number 2 OCR racer in America. Like he in 2019, he was named like second in America. He was on team, like, I don't know, Team Nightmare or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
like a pro like OCR guy, and he went through the retreat. And so you've got those kind of guys, but then also you have the men that are like, I'm here to make ground in this because I'm not where I need to be. And so you don't have to be physically fit to do that, because every challenge that comes in front of you, you're attacking it as a team. So you're with your men to your left and right and going through those things together. And so you're never just out there kind of doing it alone.
Yeah.
Some people ask, like, okay, I've heard of this like Navy SEALs retreat over in California where they're like holding your head underwater and you're like taping your mouth and putting Vaseline in your nose. It's nothing like that. This is not some deprivation course where, like, we're starving you or you have no sleep or anything like that.
Yeah.
I want you to be, the entire weekend, you'll only be uplifted and strengthened. And I want you to be fueled so that you can make those decisions and be clear of mind when you're going through the obstacles and the challenges. So nothing crazy like that. We're not holding the head underwater. I mean, afterwards, what happens in the barracks, I don't know, but
well, that's really cool. Like all the relationships that have stemmed from it, like you talked about the 19-year-old next to the retirement guy, the relationships that stem from it have to be very fruitful for you as well. But we've talked a lot about team. And obviously it sounds like teamwork is a big part of the retreats and stuff. And so assuming you're a big advocate for teamwork, what would you say are some top traits of an ideal teammate?
Yeah, for sure. Others over self. Like you've got to put the team before yourself. That was big in the military, of course, in the Marines. You're going out to help other people. I just actually, for the CEO Executive Leader Retreat, I'm bringing in some guest speakers from around some different places. We're looking at getting some actually pro athlete guest speakers coming in. But one that we just signed actually just the other day he's a Medal of Honor nominated Marine infantry guy. He won the Silver Star, which is like 2 down from the Medal of Honor for combat actions in Iraq. But he's known as the hero of Nazaria of Ambush Alley over there with 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines. They went in, and this guy was at one point going in to rescue these wounded Marines that had been hit, and they were stuck in this building. And at one point, he jumped on the hood of a Humvee and was holding on with one arm, shotgun in the other hand, which is not our normal weapon because that doesn't reach out very far for us. And so he's close enough to be engaging targets with a shotgun, riding on the hood of a Humvee, going in to get these Marines. And basically he came back out of there and said, hey, I need four men that are ready to die. And I'm not taking fathers. I'm not taking husbands. If you're 4 men and you're not married and you don't have kids, come with me. And they got in this Humvee and went in there and got these Marines out. And some of them didn't make it, but they were able to do that. And he was like literally nominated for the Medal of Honor for that, which is a big deal. So he's coming in and being a guest speaker at one of the retreats coming up for the CEOs. So it's going to be cool. But the reason why I brought him up was that sacrifice, like self behind others, but holding the standard high for your teammates. Like, there was a big kick in like the 1980s and 90s where self-esteem was like the thing. Like we need everybody to have this self-esteem. The pendulum swang too far where they wouldn't allow anybody to fail and feel failure, right? And so that's where the pay-to-play stuff came. That's where everybody makes the team, everybody gets a trophy, the whole thing that you guys know about and have heard. And so what they found was that actually obviously causes weakness. So it looks great on paper, right? But that doesn't apply. That's not how humans are designed, right? And so to have standards raised in life is really the biggest thing that you can do for others, and so for your teammates. And so because they found that this pendulum swung all the way over, they're totally protected. They never feel failure, but we grow and we strengthen through failure, right? We we strengthen through adversity. And so if they, there was a big push on not to allow the kids to feel that. And so when they got to, junior high, like this 13, 14-year-old stuff we're talking about, because America is the greatest country ever to exist, right?
Right.
We've got problems, we've got different things going on, but going to those 13 countries and just seeing the bad things that people can do to each other and all of that just
puts it in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very grateful because, not only do we live in the greatest country ever, right? This is, if we look at, and not making light of our poverty, right? We've got people that are starving. We've got all kinds of different things happening. But if we look at the poverty level of our country in relation to how much meat we consume, the education, the access to different comforts and different things in life, our poverty level is like the kings of most countries. It's the highest there. And so we live in the most amazing, freest country ever to exist. Look at the technology. Look how comfortable we are. Look at if we've got a tickle in our throat right now, you could pull out a box in your pocket, push 3 little buttons, and within like 2 minutes, some of the best trained people in the world are here to help you out with some of the best equipment. Yeah. And if that's not good enough, they'll put you in a box truck and take you somewhere else, an ambulance, right? And with better trained people and better equipment. And if that's not good enough, they're going to put you on a helicopter and fly you somewhere else, right?
Right.
That doesn't exist in most of the world.
Right.
And if you think about it, like that didn't exist in most of the history of America either. Right? This is not like 1802 where if you get a mosquito bite, it gets infected. They got to like saw your leg off.
Right. For sure.
Onto a piece of leather.
Yeah. No anesthesia.
Oh yeah. Crazy.
Wild.
Dude, I don't know anybody that's had to do that recently. Right? So
I can't think of one.
Yeah, so I'm super thankful. Like what that means is if you think about it, like, okay, we are at the best place and the best time. Those two things have hit each other. And so we are literally living at the pinnacle of humanity, like us.
Yeah.
And if I ask, and I've never seen a hand go up if I ever ask this, if I go to different places or whatever, but like nobody earned the right for that. No one went to God or creator and said, hey God, before I get created, can I have the pinnacle of humanity, please? Like instead of 1402 Uganda or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what that was like, but it probably wasn't as cool as what we got now.
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody earned that right. And so if you didn't earn it, if you didn't ask for it, that's called a gift, right?
Yeah.
100%.
So, man, what did mom tell us to say when we got a gift? Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the only way we can say thank you, man, the only way that I figured out like for that much of a gift and that type of gift is to take this thing I've been given, make it the best I can, and try to help other people do the same thing.
100%. And what I might butcher this, but what's the example of hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which then continues to makes hard times.
Yeah. That's why we're kind of putting the fight to the negative and to the dark out there, because it's like, how cool is it? And to kind of spin that bigger vision on what we've got within the tribe is, okay, right now we're making a difference in men's lives individually, one at a time, difference in families, difference now in, starting to get into communities because we're spreading to a lot of different states now. But how cool is the bigger vision of like, it's going to be really different when we have lion chasers that have made these commitments, like in political positions, and company heads of leadership, like the executive leaders. That's why we're doing that, to start getting into bigger platforms and get at this tribe and this brotherhood into bigger and more potent areas, I guess. And so when you start doing that, then now we can start making a difference. And if you want to go big scale, like we teach within the tribe only to help and to serve other lion chasers and other people out there in the world. So it's going to be kind of hard to shoot at each other if you're a lion chaser. Right. And so we can start making a difference out there on a global scale eventually. Like the dream is pretty big. And so we're putting the pieces in place now to make it happen.
Let's talk about that. What are your dreams and goals for the business?
Yeah. So man, I can't wait to get really old and look back and see how many teams we've gone through. Right now, each team has its own guidon, which is like a small flag that you carry around on a pole. Basically, we use it in the military, but so each team has its own guidon, and and in the rooms, in the training rooms, we hang them around the wall, right? And it's going to be so cool that when that whole wall is just filled with guidons, there's actually a lion skull, right? And so went and found a museum quality. Unfortunately, I can't have a real lion skull at this point. There's like rules on that. Yeah. But museum quality, like full size replica of a lion skull. I've got one that the mouth is open. and its teeth are hanging, man. It's a nasty looking skull. That's a big animal.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's 900 pounds of apex teeth coming at you, right?
Totally.
The only way you should face that thing is if you're standing shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and you have a spear, right?
Mhm.
You have a weapon. And actually you get issued a survival spear with an 8-inch blade on it as soon as you walk in, right? But we've got the lion skull that's open, and then they go through some different processes and different challenges individually and as a team, and different things that they face, fears in different parts of life, and they go through. And on Sunday morning, the third day of the retreat, like when they come in, a version of the skull is sitting on the trainer table, and its mouth is closed, right? So it's actually a closed mouth because they work hard. The men work hard that weekend to close the mouths of the lions that are growling at them.
Mm.
And at graduation, at the end of the retreat, each man that made it to graduation gets to sign his name and his call sign, his warrior name that he earns through the weekend, which is hilarious, by the way. Some different things. We've got one guy's name is Bear Crawl, but it's Bare. So his pants did not survive.
Oh,
So
okay.
we got it's hilarious the different names that come out of that, but you get to sign that. We had to turn the cameras off for a minute.
That's a bad visual.
Yeah, it's bad. And he's awesome. His name is Chew. He's he's actually originally from Africa. He's like this big dude. He played college football. But he helped create movies and different things. And so super well spoken. He's actually in the process of becoming an instructor as well. But financial guy now. But he's just, I mean, one of his pranks that he played on one of his buddies in high school was he moved his car in the parking lot. Like, I was like, dude, I didn't move anybody's car. That was not the prank I was playing in high school.
Yeah.
But he like lifted it and literally like moved it, to the point where
Dude.
Yeah, big guy.
Big dude.
So the pants didn't survive. Yeah. Chew is known as Bear Crawl for sure. But so you get to sign your name as you graduate and become part of that tribe. You've earned your spot in our brotherhood, right? And amongst our ranks, and by doing the things you did that weekend and helping other people and doing the things you need. And so it's cool because that lion skull continues to get blackened by all the signatures that are starting to overlap each other and all this. So I can't wait for that entire skull just to be blackened and completely full of just lion chaser names, because each one of those names represents a man out there that has made those commitments in his life to himself, to his family, to, God, to his, whatever it might be out there. And so it's cool to watch that get covered, because the more covered that is, the more relationships, families, communities we're impacting out there. So
Yeah.
So it's really cool to watch. So the vision's big. We're talking about definitely going global at some point, like down the road. And
oh wow,
it's so the next step now is to we're looking at property in kind of the mountains of North Carolina. So we're going to make an actual lion chaser training center compound where these events will everybody will kind of come there for there, and that'll be kind of home base. So
interesting.
It'll be cool.
That'll be really cool.
That is really cool.
I kind of have a question for my own interest.
Yep.
Out of all of your retreats that you've done, what is there a specific moment that pops out as like, hey, that's the epitome of feel good moments?
Man. So one of the things we do, we work on our stories and how our life has kind of come to the point where it's at now, and we go over that through. We do a lot of work on it, and it's there's a lot of things that go into that, but it's cool to see the men kind of open up with each other during a fire. We get a fire pit going, and we do some different things. There's a special warrior dinner that night after they get back out of the woods, and we get cigars. Man, it's awesome. We get to hang out and do that. But they open up and share with each other in pretty amazing ways. So that's always really cool to see that happen. And that's where a lot of decisions are made, and lines drawn in the sand, but also it's a really fun weekend too. Like it's just cool to watch men get out there and crawl through the mud with each other and be dragging each other under barbed wire. And it's really cool to watch those things. So, man, one specific, I guess one that sticks out to you. One part that really just really hit me and impacted me. And this was actually, it's funny you say that, but it was actually not during a retreat. It was after, and there was a man named Brent Boyd. The guy's like 6'7". He's huge, like he's a big guy, and he went through the retreat, did awesome, and he's like a high level guy at GE. And he went through, and one night he was taking his wife out to dinner and went to the bathroom, and blood was in the toilet. Wasn't sure what was going on. So he went in and found kidney cancer all the way up through.
No.
They got him in like the next week to pull it all out. And so I went and visited him in the hospital after his surgery. And, he's a man's man for sure, but he was getting emotional, and he's like, Brock, he's like, man, and he has allowed me to share this story. We've talked about it, but he said, man, this is why we do Lion Chasers. Like, he's like, it's not to help each other through burpees and to get that one more burpee, although we do some burpees. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not to recommend what book to read next and to help somebody move forward, which we do that too. But he's like, it's when life actually hits hard. Like when you go to the bathroom and all of a sudden you see blood, and now you got this.
And your brother shows up.
Yeah. And men did a lot of different ways to support each other. We've had men, a guy that was 30 years old, wake up and his wife was having an active stroke next to him, brought in the helicopter, the whole thing. And, men were getting together and offering like, man, what do you need from us? Like, we can go, clean up poop in your yard, like dog poop, whatever it is.
Yeah, let's serve.
So a lot of ways that the tribe has come together, but I think especially hearing that from, because, you get a lot of testimonies coming out, and you see men moving forward and improving and seeing being as amazing to their kids and their wives and all that. So that stuff is cool. But to actually hear it put into words like that, in the hospital when somebody really needed it, it was pretty humbling.
That's definitely a moment that sticks out. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And then, you get crazy stuff like, there's a kayak race. We put them head to head. We do a long race, and then we do a sprint, and it's hilarious. People are just like going at it. And one time we went to a retreat, and there had been like a drought, and there was like no water in this river. It was like,
so they're like getting stuck.
Ankle deep. Like, some people, they're trying to drag it. And one guy had the idea. He's like, I'm just going to run with, like, he legit like grabbed his kayak rope and like just ran down the river with this thing. And like, it came back, and one of the guys, they were jumping their kayaks out, one of them had a fish in his kayak. Like, it's like, they caught this thing. And so that man's warrior name. So he won both races. He won the sprint and the long kayak race in like knee deep water. And so he's an animal. He's actually a drill sergeant for the Army. Which is cool. He's got the smoky hat and all that stuff. But anyway, great dude. But his warrior name was Land Shark, because in the land he's doing that thing. But so you do crazy stuff like that. Right. The guy that found a fish in his kayak was Nightcrawler, which was Zach Evans. He was a wrestler and different things. So anyway, crazy stuff happens.
So you keep name dropping. So let's do this. What's the biggest name you've ever had show up to one of your retreats?
Oh man, so there was so many times now I don't know individually the people that are coming through, right? Like I read their applications just to get an idea of who I'm going to be working with, maybe some different things, because in the applications, like, okay, who's your biggest inspiration in your life? Like, what challenges? What do we need? Those things. And last year, I guess, there was a retreat down in Lake Laurel, Kentucky, and a bunch of men came. And I didn't know any of them. And this one guy kept coming in between the challenges, right? And he's like, man, this is amazing. I don't know any man or any person in my life that doesn't need this. Like, we can do this. You can do one of these every weekend. Like, I'm going to help, like, spread the word. I was like, sweet dude, thanks, man. Like, everybody kind of says that. Like,
who are you?
Yeah, appreciate it. Like, that's, thanks, man. And he kept coming up, and he's like, let's talk and all this. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? So I went on like social media, stalked him or whatever. He came up as a public figure, 344,000 followers just on Facebook alone, the whole thing, like over half, 500K, like in general. And his name is Ray Higdon, big business guy, big multi-level marketing coach, instructor, whatever the title is, down in Florida. I went to one of his events, his conferences last year in Orlando. We had a booth and did some speaking on their platform there and different things. But his keynote that he hired in was Dr. John Maxwell. So it's like, kind of a big deal.
Wow.
Like, just you got to be a big deal to have John Maxwell.
John Maxwell doesn't show up to these things like for $1,000. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's a big deal to get him in there. And so when you're hiring John Maxwell to be your keynote, then you've had some success. And
totally.
it was cool to see not only that guy come out and support, on social media and different things, Lion Chasers, but it's cool because he actually went through, and he is a part of our tribe, and he earned the call sign Pitbull because he was pulling on that chain thing that I can't really tell you about too much. But it's man on man chain pull, and he did a great job with that. But he was part of Delta One back in the day down out of Kentucky. So, and he flew up. He didn't even know. It was a crazy story on how he even came to do that. Like, I should have known, because when I started getting texts from some lady named Krista, she says, "Hi, Mr. Heath. This is Krista. I'm Mr. Higdon's assistant. What airport would you like me to fly him into?" And I'm like, well, that's different.
That's yeah.
I haven't had that one happen yet, so I probably should have known. But
wow, that's flying private.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
That ain't cheap.
So it was cool.
Dang.
And apparently, so there was a guy named David Ingram. He was a pastor. He planted like 80 churches over in Africa. He had some really cool stories. He's a cool part of the tribe. His warrior name is Captain. Call him Captain Crunch. But so he's a butt kicker for sure. But he didn't even apparently know Ray Higdon. He just invited him on like Facebook Messenger or something. The guy actually pulled it up. And so we didn't know this until later talking with Ray, because he said, my wife asked me where I'm going. Like, he's like, I don't even know. She's like, where are you going this weekend? He's like, I'm not really sure. I think God told me, like, I felt the pull to go. And he's like, well, she's like, well, who invited you? I'm like, I don't know the guy. I just got a message.
Oh my gosh.
See,
that's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
and the fact that like you got to lead that person who leads so many others, and then he found so much value in it. Man, that has to be so fruitful for you.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was a cool moment for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. So if we got listeners that are saying, Brock, man, this sounds amazing.
Right.
Where can I get in contact with you? Where can I sign up?
Yeah.
How can they do that?
Yeah, for sure. So right now there's the websites. There's a dedicated Lion Chasers website, because honestly, since 2021, the Lion Chasers is just a page within my Blue Vase page. Right. Mm-hmm. And so to find it, it's bluevasehunters.com. Right. And then you have to go over to the little menu and find Lion Chasers within it.
Okay.
But it's blue like the color, vase like a flower vase, and then hunters with an S.
Okay.
Bluevasehunters.com. And so that'll allow you to get into there's an application there, and you go in and just sign in, put in your information, and you can get an application out there. Or you can always just email me, and I will take those and get information out there, and pass it to some of the support element guys and all that that'll help get you signed up. But my email is my name. It's just Heath. So BHEATH @bluevasehunters.com.
Cool.
Well, make sure you reach out.
Yeah, seriously. Everybody could use that.
Yeah. So the retreat in September in Kentucky is full already. The one in Ohio in September still has some spots, but we're filling up that executive leaders retreat. That's going to be next level everything. And so if you have somebody
that's in November?
That's in November in Michigan.
Okay.
Yep. All right. And then we'll be announcing dates for 2025 for all the retreats there. So we'll be getting it done for sure.
Exciting things on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, as always, we always trying to end things with a little bit of God's word.
Yeah.
And Brock, you have some scripture that, rings true for you.
Yeah.
If you want to share that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so many things, like you can't even start to touch it. Every time you go to hear a speaker or to your church or whatever you hear, I feel like you hear Bible verse, you're like, I didn't know that was even in there. There's so much extensive things in there that just are life-changing. It's like your guidebook from your creator on how to live. And it's an amazing thing. But based on just one that I've kind of been soaking into and leaning into lately, especially because we talk about being in that battle. And so while we have this really comfy life, while many the people that have served in the military took that uniform off, or if you had not served in the military or serving in different ways in life, you are absolutely fighting a battle, right? And we talked about it. There is an enemy, and there is a fight, and so we have to be the best tool that we can be, the best weapon we can be out there to fight that fight, right?
Yeah.
Or we cannot, and there are consequences of that too, right? And so,
very true.
You're not going to not move in life. Like, you're in the stream of life. You're in the river of life. And if you're not paddling towards your hopes and your goals and your dreams,
you're going backwards.
Still going to be moving somewhere. right? The current of life is going to take you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, it's probably going to be hitting you, pushing you up against some rocks, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Not going where you want to go. And so you have to be conscious and be prepared for those things. While you don't have to be scared, you don't want to go through life. Don't be weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, I am aware of my environment. I'm on yellow when I go out with my family. I'm watching for things going on around me, which is the way that we should be as men and as protectors.
Yeah.
I believe in, I train myself continually with weapons and different things just to be ready for those things out there.
Of course.
But I'm not weird. You get guys that are like
over the top.
Yeah. In Ohio, we're a open carry. So, you can absolutely legally walk into Walmart with an AR-15 on your back. Right. But don't do that. That's weird. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right?
Yeah.
And so don't be weird about it. Don't walk around, whatever, but be prepared. But we're absolutely, we should be prepared for battle as we go.
100%.
Right? We don't want to be not. And so there's a great quote. And again, like you, I'm gonna mess it up. But the lines, and you guys have heard it, where it's an old Japanese proverb where it says, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in war. Right. And so it's like, okay, I want to be, even though we are in a garden, we live in a safe country
100%
comparatively to the rest of the craziness that's out there.
Yeah.
But also let's be a warrior in the garden just in case. Right. And so that kind of applied to, Psalm 144, 1 and 2, which the version that I just pulled up here is praise be to the Lord, my rock. So there's a lot that just goes right into that. Who trains my hands for war, who trains my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge, who subdues people under me. Right. And so there's so much that you can look into that. But one of the first thing is just like you're praising the Lord for this. Like he is the reason why you have these gifts and have these talents and abilities and tools to be able to go out and fight the fight. Right.
Heard that.
And so it all comes from him, which kicks off right away, which I love that. But he helps to prepare us for battle, for that war out there, so that we can go out there and be warriors in his army. Right. And so to be, and like in high school, I think it's just ingrained in us. Like I didn't want to go do something. I didn't, not to tear apart anybody or put anybody down, but, I didn't want to be an Air Force engineer. Right. I wanted to go be Marine infantry, go do those things to be the best warrior I could be.
Yeah.
And so I believe that's what I should do here. And what we should do is, okay, if we're going to be a warrior for God, like we should probably train.
Yeah. No,
we're going up against some serious stuff.
And it's not just like train to kill. It's, hey, read God's word to train yourself against an enemy's attack. And battle and war aren't just one thing. It could be a variety of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's more common out here. Like we're not facing, enemy that I haven't been shot at like since I got back to America.
A battle or a war for the day could be the enemy trying to test your patience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, are you connected with the Father? That's your preparation.
Yeah,
100%.
A big deal for men, especially, is pornography out there. I mean, it's everywhere. Especially
that's a massive war.
Social media. That's totally a battle. Like you have to go 100% against yourself to not do those things. And so, and it's tough. I mean, you can't even turn on TV. Like a Dove commercial has a lady slathered up in a shower. Like it's
literally.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere.
And so that's absolutely the battle. And then he talks about, being then it goes, okay, not only is he going to prepare us to go on the offense, but in times of when we need to retreat a little bit or come back and rearm and rejuvenate and refresh, like during those times, he is our stronghold. He's our shield. He's our high fortress. Like we can go fight the fight. And then when we need to come refuel, we can like lean into him and take protection under him while we get ready to go out and fight it again.
So good.
So really good. And then he talks about in whom I take refuge, and then who subdues people under me. I heard a great Pastor Stan actually one time saying, it's okay. It feels weird, but it's okay to pray for the destruction of your enemy. Right. And so there's a whole lot of things that go into that. And where, okay, if they've made themselves the enemies of God and of this army, then you're allowed to say, hey, I pray for victory over that, especially when it comes to the different mindset prayers or battles that we have and the different things that go in. We just talked about pornography, but one of the things I'm big into self-speak and positive affirmations,
100%,
those things, and just to just as a thing to get out there. This is totally off. This is extra, right?
Yeah.
But, this
I'm
is
all
extra
for
for
it.
their ticket.
Extra credit.
But one of the things that I say when any of that stuff kind of rears its head or anything, or just start the day off, if that stuff's fighting you or whatever it might be, there's somebody at work that is kind of getting your attention, or you feel a little too excited when you see that email pop up from somebody at work, and that slippery slope happens, right? Or in different battles, if somebody's battling obesity or whatever it might be, just anything in your life. But specifically to that, I've got this passage that I just kind of created, and it says, "I am a warrior of God. I fight the fight every single day. I do not give footholds to the enemy. I do not take favors or gifts from the enemy. I stay tight and in communication with my general and king. I sharpen and strengthen myself to be the best warrior I can for this army." And then just to have a little fun at the end, I put, "A dead lion is a peaceful lion. Blessed be the peacemakers." So you're going to go out there and skewer those lions for sure. But, those things that we see that pop up and all that, those are gifts from the enemy. In every training that I've ever been in and every experience around the world that I've gone to, and you guys know this, like, you don't take gifts from the enemy because it's only going to be bad for you. The enemy is not going to give you something that's going to be beneficial to you. He's only going to give you something that's harmful. And that creates a foothold, a little crack, a little handhold, a place where he can get in to your life. And so why are we, when that stuff pops up, or we're going purposefully to go find it or whatever it might be, like, that's a gift from the enemy. And we're saying thank you from the enemy and taking it into our life, which is not good.
Yeah.
Right? And so anyway, that's something that we can do to fight that fight. That's not a physical fight. I mean, totally go get in a jujitsu gym, like, be able to handle yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Also, more likely is that you're going to be fighting that mental and that emotional fight out there.
Totally.
Stay connected.
Totally.
Sure. So,
Man, Brock, I tell you what, man,
That was awesome.
talk about an awesome episode. Motivational, inspirational, the value that was provided. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
So
Brock's got us amped over
let's
here.
go. So, Blueprint listeners, if you found value from this, which there's no way that you didn't, please leave us a review. That allows the podcast to spread to other business owners, other entrepreneurs, and those that are just wanting to get better. So you could share, like, and subscribe. That'd be much appreciated. And we'll catch you next week on the Blueprint Podcast.
That's
Peace.
awesome. And just real fast, I know we got a couple seats open for the September retreat here in Ohio. So Blueprint listeners, I'm talking to you out there. If these two men show up and get in the mud, I will definitely have some photos that you guys are going to appreciate. These men out there getting it done. It'll be good.
Let's go.
Heck yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Peace.